Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you're listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we're going to be talking about the astrology of April 2023. This is an exciting month. It's an exciting month. Why? Because eclipse season starts. And we are experiencing a new moon solar eclipse, which maybe isn't as dramatic as a lunar eclipse, but still it is an eclipse, turning point, milestone moment. And Mercury is going to go retrograde. It's going to go retrograde in Taurus from the 21st of April until the middle of May. So we are going to experience the May eclipse on the Scorpio-Taurus axis whilst Mercury is retrograde. So pay attention to this Mercury retrograde because it's going to be very, very significant also in terms of the events that are coming to our attention and the developments that are coming to our attention in May. Now, what are the most significant events of the month? Well, of course, the eclipse, 20th of April, new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 29 degrees. You are going to feel the eclipse on the 20th of April, especially if you've got planets around 29 degrees of cardinal signs. The cardinal signs being Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer. On the same day, the sun moves into Taurus and it will square Pluto in Aquarius. This is a very important activation of the Pluto in Aquarius transit. So the spotlight is going to be placed on, well, the hidden, or not so hidden, because now they're coming to the surface, the layers of society that need to go through a significant transformation. It may feel like there's a clash between traditional values and the evolution of society towards maybe a more equalitarian society, because let's not forget Aquarius is quite concerned with equality, and obviously equality on paper sounds like a concept to aspire towards, but the reality is never as straightforward as how things come across or how things appear to be on paper or in books, I would say. The 20th of April is also probably a very significant day and period, week before, week after, connected with developments on the military front, because Aries is a sign very much concerned with the military and with the evolution of military events. It's also very significant eclipse for the economy. There seems to be kind of like a clash economically, and maybe something that we as a society no longer we as a society, I mean, maybe a portion of society, not all of us, but it may feel like a time when we no longer have access to a certain type of resource. There could also be things coming up to the surface connected with how the powers that be have been doing things behind the scenes in such a way that it has negatively impacted the economy and negatively impacted available resources to all. And the people are likely to be angry. I'll put it out there. Now, I jumped straight to the eclipse. I'm going to take a little bit of a step back and take you through the most significant events of the month. 3rd of April, Mercury enters Taurus and squares Pluto in Aquarius. Again, a very important activation of Pluto in Aquarius, the Pluto in Aquarius transit. News about how the masses, how groups of people, how organizations are dissatisfied with the resources that they have available and maybe with how much they are paid. So we can expect news of protests, and especially protests that disrupt transportation, that disrupt communications, that disrupt maybe the flowing, let's say, journey of food related resources, I'd say. On the 5th of April, the sun will conjunct Chiron in Aries. So this is a day in which collectively we're probably going to see how hurt we are because we have not been heard or listened or paid attention to in terms of our unique needs as individuals. So the result might be aggression, very possibly. The full moon in Libra on the 6th of April is likely to put the spotlight on some sort of agreement, a diplomatic agreement, very likely. I like the fact that Venus is going to be in domicile in Taurus at the time, nicely aspecting Neptune. So I do see a mellowing of more rigid stances around this time, and an important compromise that appeases, that soothes diplomatic relationships. 11th of April, the Sun will conjunct Jupiter in Aries, an expansion of the fighting and survival energy, I'd say. Venus moves into Gemini until the 7th of May. It may feel like conversations that lead to agreements are maybe easier to take and easier to handle. On the 11th of April, also, Venus will trine Pluto. So it may feel like there are very important conversations that are taking place that strike an important chord with groups of people and with the masses. And I dare say that the masses are probably content. And obviously, I'm part of the masses. We're all part of the masses. I don't know why I'm referring to the masses as this kind of like abstract concept. It feels like we as a collective are receiving more power somehow, or specific organizations are receiving more power and they're happy with that. Venus will square Saturn on the 14th of April. It feels like communication hits a bit of a wall, and maybe communications that have something to do with diplomacy hit a little bit of a wall. 21st of April until the middle of May, Mercury will be retrograde in Taurus. So old conversations about the economy, about food, about resources are coming back to our attention. It may feel like we're going a little bit back in time and dealing with the same stuff, or reading about the same stuff that we read about a while ago. Disruption of transportation, kind of like schedules and patterns connected with food and maybe material resources are very likely throughout this period. 24th of April, the Sun will conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Pay attention to this, because this is giving you a little bit of a taster, folks, as to how the economy is probably going to evolve. We're going to be more aware of how the economy is evolving and whether it's hitting an important kind of like sore point at the eclipse in May, 5th of May, and also week before, week after. 29th of April, Mars will sextile Uranus in Taurus. Mars in Cancer will sextile Uranus in Taurus. It does feel like something that we were angry about is kind of like starting to move forward, and we see some sort of a solution, and we see a way to maybe take care and protect our families in a manner that doesn't kind of like disrupt the easy flow of money and resources and what is coming into our households, I'd say. It's an intense month, folks. Please, when you listen to the updates for each of the 12 zodiac signs, my big recommendation is to listen to the update for your rising sign above everything else. And also very important, if you would like to get a forecast that is personalized to you, that is very specific to your chart, that kind of like takes into account the entire natal chart, all of your degrees, angles, I would recommend working with an astrologer. I work with people one-to-one. You can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. And you can go straight to the services section. If you're a new client, you can go straight to the 1-hour live Zoom consultation option. Remember that these are just general horoscopes. So for an accurate and as granular and as in-depth as possible forecast that takes into account your entire chart, you will have to work with an astrologer, and if you choose to work with me, I would be more than honored. Also keep in mind that everything starts with the natal chart. So if you have not had someone analyze and interpret your natal chart, the natal chart in astrology is considered to be the root prediction, so to speak. I did not come up with this phrase, hence the inverted commas that I'm using. I would recommend working with an astrologer to help you understand the depths of your natal chart, understand your potential, understand your key lessons in this lifetime, opportunities, challenges, and also understand who you are at a deeper level, and maybe reconnect, I'd say, with what you're here to learn at a soul level. Written in the stars-astrology.com. That is my website. My dear Aries suns and Aries risings, what does April 2023 have in store for you? Well, you're going to be in the spotlight quite a bit because there's going to be an eclipse taking place in your sign, a solar eclipse taking place in Aries on the 20th of April. So that's probably one of the most significant events of the month for you. But I'm not going to jump to the eclipse. I'm going to start off in chronological order with the events of this month. So on the 3rd of April, Mercury will square Pluto in your 11th house of friendships, groups of people, the organizations, the communities, the tribes that you are a part of. You might uncover some hidden information about a friend that really rubs you the wrong way, or there could be something that comes to the surface around this time connected with an organization that you are a part of, connected with a community that you're a part of, and this doesn't really seem to sit well with you. It actually seems to go a little bit against your values, if I might say. You might not necessarily know immediately how to tackle this. You may feel a little bit stumped. I think that's the word. Forgive me if I'm making stuff up. You may feel a little bit at a loss, as if you are kind of like hitting a wall. I generally recommend having honest and also calm conversations with whoever it is that you need to discuss about this issue that doesn't really sit well with you. There could also be some hidden, well, no longer hidden, maybe, let's put it this way. There could be some expenses or some financial issues that you need to take care of around this time, connected with your goals for the future, and maybe also connected with, again, the groups of people and the organizations that you are a part of. Now, why did I use the word hidden? Well, because it may feel like you have to pay for something that you didn't know you had to pay for. So that might not necessarily be super pleasant, but alas, again, if you need to talk to someone, I would recommend talking very calmly. Why do I keep on mentioning the word calm for you, Aries? Because this month, for the entirety of the month, Mars is going to be transiting Cancer. Mars is your chart ruler, and Mars doesn't necessarily feel that good in Cancer. Why? Because Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon governs our subconscious. So you may feel a little bit irritated and a little bit more likely to fly off the handle because things are rubbing you the wrong way on an emotional level, but you might not necessarily see these reactions coming. And you might actually have some very kind of like touchy reactions that afterwards you take a bit of a step back and you say, oh, I suppose I just took it out on someone when actually I was irritated by something else. You do seem to have quite a high chance to get angry, maybe angrier, faster than you normally would, with family members or connected with issues that have something to do with your home. You may have a lot to solve at home. There might be a lot of fixing that needs to be done at home, but very, very careful because you could be more emotionally reactive with family members. And obviously you do not want to ruin relationships just because something needs to be fixed in the home. So something isn't working. I don't know. Something needs to be repaired, like the stove or something like that. On the 5th of April, the Sun will conjunct Chiron in Aries. You might be much more consciously aware of where you feel like an outsider my lovely Aries, and where you feel like you've been kind of like left out, or where you feel like the scapegoat. Also, it could be a day of important aha moments in that regard. 6th of April, there is a full moon. And I would also pay attention, of course, to the 3 days before, 3 days after. There's a full moon activating your 7th house of relationships in Libra. The first thing that I would recommend is to look back at what was going on in your relationship sector around the 25th of September last year, 2022, because that's when you experienced a new moon in the 7th house of relationships. So relationships are going to be front and center of your focus, of your attention at the time of this full moon. There could also be news coming up connected with your partner, business partner, or life partner. You could also feel like you're reaching some sort of culminating moment in regards to how you work with people one-to-one. If, let's say, you work as a consultant in any shape or form, there could be a sense of something culminating in those relationships of you being the consultant for others. What I like about this full moon is that Mars is going to form a harmonious aspect to Mercury and to Saturn at the time. There is a minor grand trine in the sky. It almost feels like this could be the time when you have clarity as to how you can move forward in collaboration with your partner on a matter that has something to do with home and family life, and maybe that also involves spending money in some shape or form. Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is going to be in domicile in Taurus. I do believe that whatever's going on in your relationship sector, you seem to be aligned with your partner from a values perspective and also from a financial perspective. If there's money that you need to spend together with your partner, maybe to buy something for the house, maybe to spend on family members, it does feel like you are on the same page. If you are single, there is a high chance that you could connect with someone that you feel like they're right up your street. They have the qualities, they have the assets, so to speak, not necessarily materially. They have the assets that you really appreciate in a partner. You could also be signing a very lucrative partnership business-wise around this time, my dear Aries. So generally, this is an auspicious full moon, I want to say, for partnerships and for relationships. The sun is going to be conjunct Chiron at the time of this full moon. So if you feel like in the past in a partnership, you were not really getting what was important, or you didn't necessarily feel like you could demand what was important for you, I would have some very kind of like calm, patient conversations with the other person, because they seem to be willing to kind of like do whatever it takes to make things work in order for the partnership to continue. 11th of April, the sun will conjunct Jupiter in your first house. You seem to be very, very aware of how you want to grow and develop yourself moving forward. And you also seem to feel very optimistic and positive about what you don't know and what you can't see coming. It's almost like you're receiving this infusion of courage. Naturally, you're quite a courageous sign. Obviously, you rule courage in astrology, but you could feel like you're receiving this infusion of optimism and courage about facing the unknown. Venus is going to enter your 3rd house of communication on the 11th of April until the 7th of May. And on the 11th, it's actually going to trine Pluto in Aquarius. The 11th is a great day for socialization, for presenting something to a group of people, for connecting with a network or a group of people that can help you increase your income. It can also be quite a romantic day, I want to say. And generally until the 7th of May, you do seem to be enjoying networking, sharing your thoughts, sharing your opinions, reaching out to others. And also you seem to be enjoying any sort of classroom type of situation. So if you need to take classes or courses of any sorts, I like the entire period from the 11th of April until the 7th of May. On the 14th of April, Venus will square Saturn. I am seeing a sense of restriction around this time connected with your finances, maybe. You might feel like you shouldn't really spend as much as you would like to, or you might feel restricted in terms of how much you thought you would make this month or how much you thought you would get paid. And alas, there might be some sort of news that says, nope, you gotta be a little bit more cautious in terms of how much money you spend, because you might not be receiving all your money now. There could also be some I want to say misunderstanding connected with communications with a romantic partner around this time. Let's talk about the eclipse, 20th of April, and it's active week before, week after. New moon solar eclipse. So a massive new beginning happening in your first house. I want to say that it feels like you're stepping into a new identity, into a new you. And whatever you feel urged to explore around self-development and self-growth around this time, this is the seed moment, and it may feel like it's starting to crystallize a lot more also in the second half of July of this year, when the North Node is going to get close to the degree of the eclipse, which is going to happen at 29 degrees of Aries. Mars, which is the ruler of the eclipse, is sextiling Mercury. I feel like you're stepping into a new identity around this time, my dear Aries, at the time of the eclipse. Also in connection with your role within the family. Maybe you are taking on a new role for the family. Maybe you are kind of like initiating something new together with your family or for the family, as almost like the head of the family, I'd say, symbolically speaking. Of course, the eclipse is in a tense aspect to Pluto, so it does feel like whatever new chapter you're stepping into from an identity perspective and from a life direction perspective, it does require significant readjustment in terms of your plans for the future. It's almost like some plans for the future are pushed to the side in order to make room for new ones. But hey, that's the nature of new beginnings and death and rebirth, especially on such a personal level. You could also feel inspired around this time, my dear Aries, to start off a new relationship with your physical body, I'd say. 21st of April until the 15th of May, Mercury is going to be retrograde, my lovely Aries, in your second house of income. I would watch out for misunderstandings and miscommunication and kind of like things getting lost in translation connected with money and finances. I would also slow down a little bit when it comes to expenses. You may want to revisit your budget. You may want to kind of like slow down and reevaluate where your hard-earned cash is going. There could also be some outstanding expenses coming back from the past saying, hello, you forgot about us, or here we are knocking at your door. You need to take care of us. When? Now. I wouldn't necessarily sign up for new expenses whilst Mercury is retrograde, but rather revisit the budget in general. And 29th of April, I like the fact that Mars is trining Uranus in your second house of income. Something getting unexpectedly unblocked on the financial front, maybe something that you had almost kind of like forgotten about, or you didn't even hold your breath for it. You thought, oh, this is not going to happen, or me getting paid is going to take forever, and there could be like a very pleasant surprise on this front. You could also very unexpectedly find an item for the home that you wanted to buy for quite a long time, and finally, you find a great deal. So something that you've been meaning to do for a long time, but alas, now it is finally happening during the retrograde. And that is Aries. My dear Taurus, Taurus suns and Taurus risings, what does April have in store for you? Quite a few things. Let's not forget eclipse season kicks off this year in April, and Mercury is going to go retrograde in your own sign, my dear Taurians. So let's talk a little bit about that. First and foremost, the Mercury retrograde is going to happen between the 21st of April until the middle of May, until the 15th of May. In May, we're also going to have an eclipse in your own sign with Mercury retrograde, so that is bound to bring back themes from the past to your attention. But with Mercury retrograde in your own sign, Mercury being especially for Taurus risings, the ruler of your house of income and of your fifth house of love, romance, children, and so on. You might find yourselves, Taurians, really thinking about and even maybe feeling like reaching out to old flames romantically, people from your past, people that you've been involved with romantically. You could obviously be surprised to see them reaching out to you. So them, what do they say? Sliding into your DMs, right? You could also think a lot about the past, about your evolution, on a personal level. So you could be kind of like looking back, sifting through memories, so to speak. You could also feel inspired, which is why I'm not very afraid of Mercury retrogrades in general, and neither should you. I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of any transit, to be fair, but I'm not going to get into that today. You could feel inspired, my dear Taurians, to re-explore an old passion, an old hobby, to go back to something that used to bring you joy and a sense of connection with yourself and a sense of, yes, life is great and I love being alive and I love playing and I love being in the moment. You could also re-explore old creative projects and maybe feel like you want to tweak them, like you want to edit them. This is actually a fabulous use of this Mercury retrograde energy. Careful, my dear Taurians, with maybe expenses. I wouldn't necessarily spend too much money on kind of like stuff that decorates the physical body or stuff that embellishes the body. I mean, with Mercury retrograde, you might think you like something, and you might think you like how something looks on you, but then when the retrograde is over, it's like, nah, this used to be me, but this is no longer me. So just keep that in mind. Venus is going to be transiting your second house of income from the 11th of April until the 7th of May. Now, in general, this is a very sweet time, not romantically. I got romance on my mind for whatever reason. Don't we all? This is generally considered to be a good time from a financial perspective, and indeed it may feel like you attract financial opportunities, especially maybe from people that you have connected with or worked with in the past. You may want to finally, let's put it this way, because Mercury is going to be retrograde for some time, whilst Venus is transiting your second house. If you've been meaning to buy something for yourself for a long time or treat yourself to something nice for a long time, but you never got around to it. So if the thought was on your mind for some time, but then you never got around to it, you may want to explore it when Venus is transiting your second house of income. This is generally a very kind of like auspicious time to enjoy your money, to maybe kind of like spend it on good food, or maybe also on some quality courses, maybe on a class or a course that you, again, maybe have been wanting to take or sign up for a while. But life is busy and life can get in the way of our diary, of our schedule, and of our priorities sometime. I would strongly recommend, whilst Venus is transiting your second house, that you mingle and reach out to people, maybe reach out to old clients and reach out to people who you've worked with in the past, or maybe people that you have delivered services for in the past, because you might get some more business out of them. And I particularly like for mingling, and especially with people in power, people who are kind of like at the top of their game, or people who are bosses, authority figures in their respective fields. I particularly like the 11th of April, when Venus will trine Pluto in your 10th house of career. This is generally a very, very good day for your career. It feels like you're persuading someone, you're bringing someone on your side. Someone really seems to like you, again, someone with significant kind of like power. Now I realize that I jumped straight to the retrograde and then to Venus because, hey, Venus is your chart ruler and the retrograde is happening in your sign. So these are very significant events for you, my dear Taurians. But I want to take a bit of a step back and take you through some of the chronological events of April. So on the 3rd of April, there could be a misunderstanding. There could be a sense of feeling blindsided by something that is announced by a boss or by a manager or by someone in a position of authority. There could also be some announcements that are made in the news connected with the industry that you operate in that you don't really seem to like, I want to say. You may need to reconsider a little bit how you do business, maybe how you charge money and things like that, possibly because of legislation, announcements, or maybe because of something that's going on with the economy, Taurians. On the 5th of April, the Sun will conjunct Chiron in your 12th house. This is a moment of awareness connected with one of your hidden weaknesses. You might have an epiphany, Taurus, and say, okay, this is how I have been shooting myself in the foot. Let me stop doing that. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, there is a full moon activating your axis of service. So the 6th house, 12th house axis, a full moon happening in Libra. Look back at what was going on for you work-wise, my dear Taurians, around the 25th of September of 2022, because this full moon could bring things to a culminating point. That is very, very, very possible. You might wrap up a project work-wise. You might make an announcement connected with your work. There could be some significant announcements that are happening within your company. Venus is going to be at the time, and Venus is the ruler of the full moon, in your 1st house. So whatever is happening at work, you seem to be pleased. You seem to feel very pleased about the end result. You seem to be very pleased about the announcements, or maybe how the announcements are impacting you, and you seem to feel very valued and appreciated at work also. You could also maybe receive news of a promotion or something of that sorts around this time. I'm liking it. You seem to be in the spotlight at work, but for all the good reasons. You seem to be admired, appreciated. You could also, if you've been applying for jobs, if you don't have a job and you've been meaning to get a job, or if you've been meaning to get a job, like a new one, even though you have one already, you could hear some very, very positive, very auspicious news around the time of the full moon. Let's see what else is happening here. 14th of April, I would really recommend, because Venus will square Saturn in your 11th house, I would recommend maybe being careful how much you spend on friends and how much you spend on social activities and social outings, because you might not feel like you're getting back as much as you put in, if that makes any sense. So if you're kind of like expecting, I don't know, you buy a round of drinks and then you're expecting kind of like your friends to buy another round of drinks, they might say things like, yeah, but actually we can't afford this. You could also feel a little bit unappreciated or underappreciated or insecure, or really not certain of your own value around this time, amongst a group of people where some of them seem to have a lot more experience in a certain field than you have, Taurus. 20th of April, eclipse. The eclipse, the first eclipse of the year. There's a solar eclipse happening in your 12th house, Taurians, and this puts the spotlight, it's a new moon solar eclipse, so a new beginning. This puts the spotlight on your spiritual life and on your mental health. Mars, the ruler of the eclipse, is sextiling Mercury in your 1st house. This could feel like a new start, a fresh start for your mental health, for the way you see yourself, also for the way that you talk to yourself. You could also sign up for a class or a course that allows you to maybe manage your mental health a lot better, or you could feel inspired to sign up for a class or a course that has something of a mystical or kind of like spiritual quality to it. You might also start journaling around this time. It feels like you could be engaging in important new practices, important for the future, because this is just the beginning. Important new practices that seem to have an auspicious effect upon your relationship with yourself, and especially the relationship with the shadow, or the parts of yourself that you are not necessarily super accepting of, if I might put it this way. I'm also seeing on the 24th of April, the Sun conjunct the North Node in your first house. You could have clarity, you could have a little bit of an epiphany as to what you want your future to look like in terms of your home life and private life and family life. And I like the 29th of April because you seem to have a little bit of an aha moment as to who you need to talk to, and where you need to travel, and who you need to connect with in order to turn your life around, in order to disrupt the rhythm, the maybe stagnant rhythm of your life so far. There could also be like an unexpected short distance trip that you need to take on this day, but you seem to really enjoy it, and it seems to be also a very productive short trip. So I like it. I like it. My dear Geminis, Gemini suns and Gemini risings, what does April have in store for you? Well, I have to say it. I have to mention it. I'm going to start off with the Mercury retrograde. Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 12th house from the 21st of April until the middle of May. Why is this important? Because Mercury is your chart ruler. Now, Mercury also, Geminis, rules your 4th house of home. So what could happen throughout this period, throughout the Mercury retrograde period? You could feel like old issues that you had solved, that you had dealt with, that had given you headaches. Let's call them old demons from the past, are coming back up to your attention whilst Mercury is retrograde. Connected with your family and your past, and let's call them issues that didn't necessarily have a positive impact upon your mental health. So you could be having old negative thoughts about the past once again. Some people could have some old nightmares. Now, that's a little bit extreme, and not everyone is going to experience this energy at this extreme level. But I did want to put this on your radar. You could also have doubts, old doubts creeping back up about who you are, about your life direction, about how smart you are and how capable you are, my dear Geminis. Let's put it this way. I think it's important to identify where this voice, this kind of like sneaky, frustrating, annoying little voice is coming from. Is there anything that you can actually act upon, that you can do, that you can take charge of in order to get rid of these thoughts? Is there someone that you need to talk to? Is there something that you need to open up about? Is there something that you need to admit to yourself, my dear Geminis? That's the way that I would handle this. There could also be all sorts of delays and unexpected kind of like issues coming up connected with transportation and delivery. Especially if you're ordering stuff for the house or for the family. Again, not a disaster. Definitely not a tragedy, but it might be worth just kind of like chasing that package a little bit more, or kind of like keeping closer track of that delivery for the home. Now, what I like is that Venus is going to be in your sign. Venus being one of the two benefic planets. Jupiter is the great benefic and Venus is the lesser benefic, but they're both pretty awesome in general. Venus is going to be transiting your sign from the 11th of April all the way until the 7th of May. So you're going to catch a big portion of the Mercury retrograde with Venus in your sign. Now, Venus transiting Gemini might make you more charming and attractive and more likable than you even normally are. You may also feel like it's easier to accept yourself. It's easier to accept who you are, even if there are old negative thoughts kind of like coming up that maybe didn't let you sleep at night in the past. I do see this as a chance to really kind of like love yourself more, do nice things for yourself, my dear Geminis, and maybe also learn how to talk to yourself with more kindness and self-love. You could also feel inspired to spend more time to allocate some more of your resources to activities that are enjoyable. And generally, during a Venus transit through the first house, we do seem to feel more magnetic. So if you're going out on dates, Geminis, you may feel like, yeah, I can see why these people like me. And you may feel like it's easier to kind of like to shine your attractive magnetic light out into the world. You might also feel like people appreciate you more throughout this period for your intellect, which is generally something that you probably do want to be appreciated for, Geminis. I mean, I'm not generalizing here because everyone is a separate, different individual, but just putting it out there. Now, let me go a little bit back in time. So on the 3rd of April, I do see some challenges coming up connected with traveling, very possibly. I mean, maybe you need to be flexible with your travel plans. There could be a last minute cancellation. I would recommend, if you're planning to travel around the 3rd of April, to maybe get insurance so that in case something gets canceled or postponed or something like that, especially when it comes to flights. So when it comes to long distance travel, at least you are not losing your money, Geminis. This could also be a time when you kind of like realize that some of your old thought patterns and belief systems are not serving you or helping you. On the contrary, they're a little bit poisoning your psyche, if I can be very, very symbolic. So I would catch those negative thoughts before they actually happen, before they take place. You could be prone to thinking the worst on this day. That doesn't mean that the worst is going to happen. That's the thing with our brains and with our logical, rational mind. It's not always our friend. On the 5th of April, the Sun will conjunct Chiron in your 11th house. It feels like you're connecting maybe with a community of like mavericks, or of people who feel like outsiders, who feel different in some shape or form. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you're probably going to feel the influence of the full moon in Libra in your 5th house. Now, this is a time around which you might be completing a creative project. You could also be having fun together with friends and partying and going out or going out on a date. It can feel like a peak time, a peak moment for your romantic life. Look back at what was going on in your romantic sector around the 25th of September 2022, when you had a new moon happening in your 5th house of romantic love. I like that Venus is going to be in domicile at the time of this full moon, and it's going to sextile Neptune. So it can be quite a romantic time. You might even feel inspired to, I don't know, kind of like escape from the world and get away from the I don't know, the hustle and bustle of mundane reality together with a romantic partner. If you are attending, however, some sort of a social event together with work colleagues around this time, Geminis, you could have a really, really nice time. And there could also be the possibility of some sort of like partially hidden chemistry with someone. So overall, I'm liking this full moon. I would recommend enjoying it and having fun, and maybe scheduling kind of like something nice for the diary, for the calendar, maybe to attend like an event that you just want to attend for the fun of it, for the kind of like playful aspect of it. 14th of April, you might not necessarily feel very appreciated by someone in a position of authority. On the contrary, it might feel like they're just kind of like this cold wall that you're hitting. You're trying to impress them, you're trying to be charming, but they're like, nope, I don't care. I don't care about any of this. And that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It's not necessarily personal, but it may be that they have a different set of values than yours, Geminis. 20th of April, week before, week after. It is eclipse season, folks. There is a solar eclipse happening in your 11th house of friends and groups of people. So you may enter or you may be presented with the opportunity, because let's not forget, eclipses also connect with fated events in our life, maybe events that we can't necessarily pinpoint and say, I have chosen this consciously. You may enter a new community, a new group of friends. You might make a new friend, someone who's very significant for your future. You might also set a new set of goals for the future and maybe have a realization that your future is going to look quite differently compared to what you thought it would look like. Those of you who have planets around 29 degrees of cardinal signs, so especially Aries, Libra, and Capricorn, Cancer, you're going to feel this eclipse the most. Mars is going to nicely aspect Mercury at the time of this eclipse. It feels like if you're entering a community of people or a group of people, it's likely to have a very auspicious impact upon your finances. You could also have a think about how you can maybe network more or connect with the right individuals to make more money, because Mars is going to be in your second house of income at the time of this eclipse. And I'm also liking the 29th of April because it feels like there's a nice, pleasant surprise coming up for you financially, or you could have a spur of the moment, kind of like radical, unexpected idea as to where to put your money, what to do with your money, and what sort of like opportunity to chase to increase your earnings. And that is Gemini. Now, if you are a Cancer sun or a Cancer rising, my lovely Cancerians, my Cancerian brothers and sisters, I am a Cancer rising myself. And I know that some of you have been here for a very long time with me on my channel, but hey, some people are new and I have to let them know that I'm also a Cancerian. What does April look like for us? Well, I'm liking some stuff. I'm excited about some stuff coming up. And some of it I'm like, let's see. I don't know. I'm not very sure how I feel about it yet. The month starts off with a square on the 3rd of April, and you're probably also going to feel it maybe the day before and the day after, between Mercury and Pluto. Cancerians, there could be some news that you hear of, maybe literally in the news, so from like, I don't know, reading the newspapers or stuff like that. There could be some news that reach you connected with taxes and investments. And I don't know if you're gonna like this news. And based off of this piece of news, you might reconsider the way you approach the area of debt, taxes, and investments, I'd say. There could also be a secret coming up to the surface about one of your friends. Are you going to be thrilled about it? Probably not. You might even feel possibly a little bit betrayed or disappointed because they hid this piece of information from you. Now, is this about you? Not necessarily. So I don't know if it's worth taking it personally. You are very inclined to take things personally this month, Cancerians. You've got Mars in your first house the entire month. And it may feel like it's all about you, what you want, where you're going. Me. You might come across a little bit as like excessively pushy this month, maybe excessively kind of like belligerent and combative, and you're like looking to assert yourself, but maybe sometimes you're doing this in unnecessary setups. So I would be quite careful, because that Mars in your first house is giving you a lot of energy. So you're very energetic this month. I would recommend channeling that in some sort of like physical activity. But careful to like rein it in a little bit and not let that like energy and passion and drive come off as anger and frustration, or come out to play in the most unnecessary moments. Remember, it's not all about you. Remember not to take things too personally this month. I'm talking to myself here, right? You guys realize this. You folks, you realize that this is happening. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a beautiful full moon activating your 4th house, 10th house axis, my dear Cancerians. The spotlight seems to be on your connection and your relationship with family members. I like the fact that Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is nicely placed in Taurus and domicile and sextiling Neptune. It feels like maybe you are reaching some sort of agreement, you're on the same page with family members. It feels like maybe you are kind of like building a bridge between yourself and another family member. You could also reconnect around this time with friends from home, from the past, that remind you of your childhood. You could also feel like you are completing some sort of goal connected with your home and family life, Cancerians. Something that has taken a long time to culminate. I would look back at what was going on in your life, home and family-wise and living situation-wise, around the 25th of September of 2022. Some of you could be moving into a new home. Some of you could be inviting people at home, hosting something at home, and it feels like you are really excited to welcome the people that you love in your home. Some of you could also be traveling together with family members. Again, it does seem to be quite enjoyable overall, I dare say. 11th of April, the Sun will conjunct Jupiter in your 10th house of career. Oh, Cancerians, a big day of optimism and positivity and, dare I say, success, but also a day of daring to move forward in a new direction career-wise. Some people might look at you and say, you're a little bit, I don't know. I don't want to use the word crazy, but some people might say, do you think now is the time? And to that, my friends, I say, if not now, then when? And if not with Jupiter on your side, the great benefic, then when? When is the time to take a leap of faith career-wise? Now, folks. Now, remember that you continue to have Jupiter in your 10th house of career until the middle of May. But in April, we have this very strong activation on the 11th coming from the Sun. I say you may have clarity as to the new paths, the new horizons that you want to explore career-wise around this time, Cancerians. And you might be alone in this. Again, I wouldn't necessarily expect the people in your life to support or to understand this. But isn't that the beauty of the Aries energy? To go to places where other people haven't gone, to be the trailblazer in some shape or form. I'm getting very poetic today. I don't know what the deal is, but hey. Venus, the other benefic planet, is going to enter your 12th house from the 11th of April until the 7th of May. Venus in Gemini might help you really kind of like enjoy reading, studying, digging and sinking your teeth into information behind the scenes, maybe enjoying some classes or courses in the privacy of your home, or not necessarily revealing this to others. Venus transiting your 12th house is also a great time to take some time off. So if you wanted to take some time off, if you wanted to get away from it all, if you wanted to escape the mundane for a little bit and just kind of like go away to write something, or go away with your books somewhere in a cottage by the sea. I think I'm envisaging myself doing that. This is the time. Take advantage of it. Again, you have free will. You can do whatever you please. But I am liking Venus in the 12th house for a short escape. I like in particular the 11th of April because it does feel like you have a bit of an epiphany of a spiritual nature, and an epiphany connected with something that's been holding you back, or something that you may have considered a hidden weakness, but you actually realize it can be turned in your favor. There could also be some good news around this time, connected with your investments or connected with your partner's finances, Cancerians. I'm not liking the 14th of April because you seem to feel a little bit stuck in your writing, or in terms of moving forward with your goals for the future. You might not necessarily know how to put it all into practice, or you may feel restricted by legal issues here. 20th of April, eclipse, solar eclipse, big new beginning in your house of career. I like it. It feels like a new path is opening up for you. You may see and you may be a lot clearer as to what this new path looks like. So this is a milestone moment in terms of moving forward career-wise, but you might be a little bit clearer as to what this actually entails in the second half of July, when the transiting North Node is going to move through the last degrees of Aries, the the first degrees of Taurus and the last degrees of Aries, and activate the degree of the eclipse. Mars is going to sextile Mercury at the time of the eclipse. It feels like you are initiating something new together with a group of people or together with a community. You could be leading a community around this time, around the time of the eclipse, or starting to take steps towards leading a community, towards maybe starting a community that is coming together in order to learn something. I want to say, Cancerians. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. The eclipse is, however, square Pluto. There are some hidden elements that you need to take into account, especially when it comes to money, finances, resources, assets, loans, maybe. Keep that in mind. Mercury is going to be retrograde 21st of April until the middle of May in your 11th house of friends and groups of people. You could reconnect with old friends, people from the past. You may feel inspired to reach out to them to say, what on earth have you been up to? This could also be a time, however, when you have some doubts and you need to take a bit of a step back and re-examine, re-evaluate how you're moving forward with your plans for the future. You may need to also edit, revise, revisit, review anything that you have written or anything that you're planning to communicate before you spread it to the outside world. This is actually a great time to edit written or present or written kind of like projects or presentations or stuff that involves words and communications. There could also be misunderstandings with friends. I mean, that's the darker side of Mercury retrograde, but nothing that can't be clarified if you take a little bit of a moment, a little bit of a step back and say, am I imagining this? Did I get this right? Are we on the same page? Are we clear? I mean, don't jump to conclusions. That's probably my biggest recommendation around this time, Cancerians. I'm liking the 24th of April because you seem to be connecting with someone who may have a very strong impact upon your future goals, your future plans, and you may also have a little bit of an epiphany as to how to move forward and what resources you need in order to move forward with one of your plans for the future. The spotlight also seems to be again on your friends around this time, significant encounters or significant news connected with your friends. And I like the 29th of April because Mars is going to sextile Uranus in your 11th house. You might have kind of like a spur of the moment, radical, unconventional idea as to how to proceed with your plans for the future career-wise. This could also be like a very kind of like unexpected, but also very enjoyable moment to have fun, a day to have fun with friends. So if you feel the urge to reach out to someone around this time, to one of your old friends and say, you know what, let's go to this event together. Let's go to this party together. Let's just like let our hair down because we've been working too hard. I would do it. I'm probably going to do it myself, right? And that is Cancer for April 2023. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings, what does April have in store for you? Well, it's an exciting month. It is an exciting month because of eclipse season. Also because we're gonna have a planet going retrograde after months of all planets going direct. Mercury is going retrograde. So I suppose it's a good idea to start a little bit backwards and to talk about the retrograde first and foremost. So Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 21st of April until the middle of May in your house of career. Now, what can you expect? Mercury being also the ruler of your second house of income. You might expect some conversations with bosses or conversations about your professional life and especially about how much money you make. You might expect these to be stalled or to be postponed or just to not go exactly as you had initially thought they would go. There could also be a sense of a pause taking place connected with your career advancement. The other possibility is that you could reconnect with people that you have worked with in the past, dear Leos, and they could actually have some career opportunities for you I want to say these could materialize, or you could have a very clear idea of what these look like in May, especially beginning of May when you're going to have an eclipse in your 10th house of career. In any case, I would triple check in general when it comes to conversations with bosses or people in positions of authority. I would triple check that you got the right message and they got the right message. I would clarify things. It's a great time to reach out to old clients, old bosses, if you would like to work with them again. So that's a very smart way of making use of the Mercury retrograde. And if you are presenting something to a wider group of people, if you are in the spotlight, if you're presenting something to an audience, careful what words you use because Mercury retrograde can also embody the archetype of the trickster. So what you say may not exactly land in the way that you want it to land, and then you have to spend days explaining yourself and saying, nope, that is not what I meant. So I would be kind of like careful with the words that you use when speaking in public, my dear Leos. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of the month now. I told you, I'm doing this not exactly in chronological order. So 3rd of April, maybe also the day before, the day after, there is a square between Mercury and Pluto. It does feel like there could be some hidden information coming to the surface connected with the boss, or it may feel like you are uncomfortable, but at the same time, in a way, ready to reveal something to the outside world, to reveal something to the public about what's been going on in your relationship sector or in your marriage sector. Now, if you are in a business partnership, you could discover some bits and pieces of information about your business partner that you are not necessarily very thrilled to uncover. You may feel a little bit as if things have been happening behind your back, and you could possibly also feel a little bit betrayed. I would also say that intense conversations that lead to power struggles. I know it's not the heaviest of it's not the easiest of days, the 3rd of April, and maybe the day before, the day after. So intense conversations that lead to power struggles could unfold both in relation to a boss or in relation to a partner. Leos. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. Full moon in Libra. I like this full moon. Why? Because Venus, the ruler of the full moon, is going to be in domicile in Taurus, harmoniously aspecting Neptune. So it is it is overall a sweet full moon, and a full moon that puts the spotlight on collaboration, especially professional collaborations for you. I want to say, my dear Leos, it feels like you're signing a contract or you're reaching an agreement with someone career-wise. If you are traveling for work in order to give a presentation or in order to win a client, you could be winning them. You could be signing the contract around this time. This could also be a time when you wrap up some sort of writing project, maybe something that will help you advance career-wise. It could be your thesis or something of that nature. You could also maybe buy or sell something very significant for you around this time, my dear Leos. Something that kind of like lifts a weight off your chest, I'd say. It's like, yes, I'm happy to be rid of this. Finally. Some of you, especially those of you who are looking to get their driver's license, might get your driver's license, right? And I do believe that those who are taking any sort of exams or who are waiting for the results of exams around this time, you're probably going to be happy and thrilled with the results, Leos. So kind of like positive news connected with exams around this time. 11th of April, the Sun will conjunct Jupiter in your 9th house. I do believe that you're probably going to have a clear idea as to how you want to move forward with your academic studies. You could also have a bit of an aha moment on this day and say, this is where I'm going to travel, I'm going to book a trip. You could be feeling excited to explore maybe a new culture around this time. So I wouldn't be surprised if you spontaneously decided to book a trip at this point in time. You could also have a little bit of an epiphany at a mental level, my dear Leos, and maybe realize how you have been, my apologies, underestimating yourselves, I'd say. So your level of optimism about where you can take your life is on the rise around this time. Venus is going to move into Gemini in your 11th house until the 7th of May from the 11th of April. So these are some really enjoyable times together with friends. So if you are looking to reconnect with friends, if you are looking to get together with friends, to get the gang back together, as they say, you might as well do it, and you might as well get back in touch whilst Venus is transiting your 11th house. Venus is also the ruler of your house of career, so networking and going out with people from work is actually very likely to have a positive impact upon your professional path. I mean, I know there's probably been studies already. I can't quote them because I don't have them at hand. There's studies that have been made on how actually the people who advance, especially in the corporate world, are not necessarily the best prepared or the best experts or specialists in their field. It is the people who know who to make friends with, who to network with, who to spend time with, and who to kind of like gain exposure from. So I would say yes to those kind of like after work drinks throughout this period, my dear Leos. The 11th of April in particular is also a romantic date for you and your partner, especially if you are in a relationship. Now, if you're not in a relationship, then I would recommend going out for a date or just kind of like going out for like a concert or some sort of group of activity, because you could connect with someone that is right up your street, as they say. Now, if we move a little bit forward in time, Leos, 14th of April, you could feel a little bit restricted in terms of your enjoying an outing, a social gathering together with a group of people, because you are feeling the pressure of, I don't know, some sort of like debt that you need to pay, or it feels like you're kind of like worried about money and finances, and especially maybe money and like finances that you owe to others. So you might not necessarily have the best of times around this date, just putting it out there, but it's just one day. 20th of April, week before, week after. Solar eclipse in your 9th house. Leos, with Mars harmoniously aspecting Mercury. I feel like this is a new beginning for you, Leos, and this new beginning could start crystallizing and taking much definite kind of like shape in the second half of July. I feel like this is a new beginning for you, Leos, in terms of your life philosophy and your way of seeing the world. You might start seeing the world from a different perspective. You might be exposed to a new set of beliefs. You might be exposed to a new worldview. You might be exposed to a new way of making sense of reality. And this could also really change the way that you approach your professional path and the way that you approach how you present yourself in a career environment. The eclipse is in a tense aspect to Pluto in the 7th house. So you could be much more consciously aware of power struggles that are likely to unfold in your life, and maybe also look at the whole kind of like concept of power struggles in interactions with others from a different angle, from a different perspective. Some of you may decide to sign up for a new kind of like academic course or class, sign up for your master's degree, sign up for your PhD. It feels like a new path is opening for you around this time, Leos, in terms of how you look at the big picture of life. You could also start immersing yourself in a new culture. So you could start traveling around this time and immersing yourself very, very deeply within a new culture. 24th of April, an important meeting, an important connection at work. Maybe on the day it doesn't necessarily feel that important, but in the grand scheme of things, it might in the future. And 29th of April, it feels like something gets solved very suddenly and unexpectedly, connected with some sort of a conundrum at work. Maybe someone offers a solution and all of a sudden you say, Eureka, this is what I've been waiting for, and this is what makes my life a whole lot easier. There could be also something that goes on behind the scenes that unblocks the path of advancement for you career-wise. So I would expect pleasant surprises to surface around this time career-wise. You could also bump into something that was lying hidden or something that you did not see up until this point that really helps you move forward and shake up the dust off of your professional kind of like path of growth, I'd say. Someone behind the scenes seems to be working in your favor professionally, Leos. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, my lovely Virgos, what does April have in store for you? Well, I gotta start with the Mercury retrograde because Mercury is your chart ruler. So I think you may want to hear about this. Virgos, you're going to feel this Mercury retrograde the most, especially if you have planets between 15 and 5 degrees of fixed signs. Now, what are the fixed signs? Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. So obviously we all have our own natal chart. You're not just a Virgo sun or Virgo rising. You have planets in different signs. If you planets, angles, the North Node, and if you have important points in your natal chart between 15 and 5 degrees of fixed signs, you're going to feel this retrograde the most. Now, Mercury, not only does it rule you, it also rules your house of career. So from the 21st of April until the middle of May, there could be some delays with paperwork, with documents, with contracts, and with traveling connected with your career. You might need to postpone a business trip, or you may need to travel to a place that you have been to in the past for business purposes, my dear Virgos. You might experience some frustration and delays connected with traveling, especially long distance travel throughout this period. So if you are traveling abroad between the 21st of April until the middle of May, I would ensure that you have your visa, that you have a passport that didn't expire, that you maybe have insurance or like a backup plan in case a flight gets delayed or canceled or anything of that type, Virgos. I would also reevaluate throughout this period, Virgos, what is really important for you career-wise. What do you really want to get out of your career? And what are the most important principles that guide you career-wise? Because you might realize that some of your old principles that you used to as guide, they're no longer guiding you from a professional perspective. Now I'm going to go a little bit back in time. 3rd of April, maybe also the day before, the day after, you're going to feel this energy very possibly. Mercury will square Pluto in your 6th house. Some hidden information coming to the surface connected with your work, or maybe something kind of like coming to an end at work as a result of legislation, as a result of legislation changes, or as a result of maybe the company expanding to different markets. It feels like this throws a spanner in the works for you in terms of how you go about your day-to-day work. You may need to learn how to do your job a little bit differently. And we know that you Virgos like a process and a method to the madness. So I don't think you're going to be thrilled about the method having to change. But it also doesn't seem to be really in your, field of influence. I don't necessarily think you can get past this. It does feel like something that you need to accept and learn to work with. This could also be a time when you have a little bit of an epiphany and you realize that something that you are doing on a day-to-day basis was actually damaging your health. And also an old way of thinking and an old life philosophy was damaging your health, very possibly. I would be on the lookout for these types of acknowledgements around the 3rd of April. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. Virgos, there is a full moon activating your financial axis, and Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is going to be in domicile, harmoniously aspecting Neptune. I feel like this is a time of good news, money-wise, financially. You're either getting paid or you're receiving the good news that you've been waiting for financially. Maybe there's a contract that is being signed, a contract with your raise. Maybe this is the time when you increase your prices. You kind of like put up your rates if you're working for yourself, Virgo. I also feel like this could be a time when someone helps you with a financial matter. It helps you solve it, even though it was something that might have given you some headaches. I would look back at what was going on in your financial sector around the 25th of September of last year, because this full moon seems to be bringing things to a culminating point, a culminating moment. You might also be taking care of some debts, and it may feel like you are kind of like releasing some of the pressure that was burdening you connected with debts around this time. You could also be spending some money on traveling or classes and courses around this time, or on a trip that you're very excited about together with a partner. Virgos, it does seem to be a romantic trip. If it does come to your attention, it's like, yeah, it seems to have a romantic aspect to it. 11th of April, the Sun will conjunct Jupiter in your 8th house. It does feel like the spotlight is being placed on other people's money, other people's resources on this day, and maybe how you can better work together with a partner. It could be a life partner, it could be a business partner, in order to manage joint assets and joint finances. Venus is going to enter your house of career on the 11th of April until the 7th of May. You do seem to be very appreciated career-wise throughout this period. You seem like you are enjoying the spotlight career-wise. You seem to be enjoying kind of like what you're doing in the industry that you're in. It's also a great time to have interviews, to present things, to go out on stage and to kind of like share the way you see things from a professional perspective in the industry that you're operating in. You could also be offered the opportunity to talk and to teach others publicly career-wise throughout this period. I know that some of you are going to say, but we are not employed, or we are not working, we are retired. And to you, I say this could be a very enjoyable time if you go out into the world and if you do hold any type of public role. So if you're volunteering, if you are contributing to society in any way, it could be a very, very enjoyable time when it feels like you're very appreciated. The 11th of April in particular also seems to be a day when something gets unlocked in a positive way, work-wise, my dear Virgos. It feels like you are accessing more power work-wise, and you're also feeling a lot more confident and a lot more excited about some of the changes that are happening in your day-to-day work, because it feels like someone who has influence has got your back and they are supporting you, Virgos. I'm not liking the 14th of April because it does feel like even though you're having a great time career-wise, there is some stuff happening in the life of a partner that is raining a little bit on your parade. Maybe they're going through a tougher time themselves. 20th of April, there is a solar eclipse happening in your 8th house of shared assets and shared resources. So there could be a new beginning, an important new beginning for your partner financially. It does feel like your partner's finances are going through a shift. They're going through some sort of a transformation, I want to say. Mars is going to nicely aspect Mercury. This could also be a time when together with a partner, either a life partner or a business partner, you agree on a new way to utilize the resources that you have, that you have in common or that you pull together. So for instance, the resources within your joint bank account, or how you're going to go about maybe monetizing a property that you have together. If you've been waiting on any sort of like news connected with loans, mortgages, and things like that, you may get it around this time, my dear Virgos, around the 20th of April, week before, week after. 29th of April, Mars in your 11th house is sextiling Uranus and Taurus in the 9th house. I feel like this could be a day when you decide to take action to maybe plan a trip with your friends, or book an impromptu kind of like trip to see a friend, or when you're out into the world, you could kind of like unexpectedly bump into a group of friends or a friend that you haven't seen in a long time. And it just feels like very exciting, and it's kind of like giving you this sort of like a rush of adrenaline. You seem to be enjoying also around this time friendly debates within a group of people, and you seem to feel very confident in bringing up new ideas, innovative ideas within a group of people, and they probably also land very, very well with whoever it is that is listening around this time, my lovely Virgos. And that is April for you. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings, what is going on in April for you? Well, I have to flag the full moon in Libra above everything else. Why is that? Because obviously you are going to be in the spotlight, folks. So the full moon is happening on the 6th of April, and it's going to be active also 3 days before, 3 days after. It's happening at 16 degrees of Libra, so especially if you've got planets around 16 degrees of Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer, you are going to feel this full moon the most. This feels like a time of something culminating in your personal life that also brings over the area of relationships in some shape or form. So you may see yourself in a new light, or you may see yourself as the partner of someone. You may have kind of like an acknowledgement that you're working together with someone else, and this is something that fulfills you and completes you, and it adds a new dimension or an important dimension to who you are. You may also feel inspired to make some sort of compromise and to meet someone halfway, meet a partner halfway, because they have been hurt, because they have been suffering, because maybe they have felt like they weren't getting what they wanted to get out of the relationship with you. And this doesn't just go for romantic partnerships, it also goes for business partnerships. But it does feel like you are able to reach an agreement. It feels like a very fulfilling full moon from the perspective of diplomacy winning and compromise winning somehow, and peace winning somehow. I want to say. Venus at the time of this full moon is going to be in your 8th house, and it's going to sextile Neptune in your 6th house of day-to-day work. It feels like you're reaching some sort of agreement together with someone else. Also when it comes to money and finances, maybe you are also reaching an agreement around payment, paying someone, paying an advisor, paying a consultant. You could also feel like it is time for you to give more to someone in your life, and to maybe adjust somehow what your day-to-day looks like in order to make a partner happy. But it doesn't feel like you're sad about this. It feels like you're doing it gladly, I dare say. So overall, I am liking this full moon for you, Libra. Now there's also I was about to say lunar, but it's actually a solar eclipse. There's a solar eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse happening in your 7th house of relationships this month on the 20th of April. And it's active also the week before and the week after. And you may feel like themes that are brought up at the time of this new moon are crystallizing. They are getting a more kind of like defined shape in the second half of July. So solar eclipse and new moons are just the beginning, right? But eclipses are like a fated new beginning. So that's why they are extra special. What is this eclipse likely to bring? A new partner, a new relationship, or a new way of doing relationships. It could also bring into your life a new consultant, a new advisor, a new accountant, someone who you're working with one-to-one. You could also start working with others one-to-one differently. And when I say others, it could be a business partner, a life partner, or someone who you are advising and who you are maybe playing the role of the maybe a therapist for or guide for. So you could start working with them in a different way. Mars at the time of this eclipse is going to be in your house of career, harmoniously aspecting Mercury. So it does feel like there could be a new partnership that is taking shape professionally around this time, or a new way of offering your professional services to others, I'd say. And you may also feel inspired to, I want to say, charge more. My dear Libras. There could also be someone coming into your life that is playing the role of the advisor for you career-wise. And yes, it could be costly, but it also seems to help you jumpstart your career in the direction that you want it to go. So it might be worth every single penny, if I could put it this way, my lovely Libras. I'm liking overall the eclipse. One thing to keep in mind is that it is forming a tense aspect to Pluto in your Pluto in your 5th house of enjoyment, children, and romantic love. So if you are entering into a new relationship around this time, which is very possible, especially for Libra risings, you may want to bring up the topic of children, because it might be that you're on the same page, but it might also be that you're not exactly on the same page, or it might be that there are some kind of like hidden elements that need to be brought up to the surface around the topic of children first and foremost, in order for a relationship to move forward, I'd say. Let me go a little bit back in time, because I jumped straight to the full moon and to the eclipse, probably 2 of the most significant events of this month. So, 3rd of April, Mercury squares Pluto. It feels like there are some intense conversations happening, Libras, with your romantic partner about children around this time. There could be news coming up connected with children that require you to fork out some money, and news that really take you by surprise. Maybe something that's been going on behind the scenes that makes you feel a little bit blindsided, if I may say so myself. This could also be a time when, if you were waiting for something to be paid into your account connected with traveling, maybe you were waiting for news connected with like travel insurance or something like that, the news that you're getting is not exactly stellar, and it may feel like you are a little bit stuck in terms of moving forward with this. Nothing that is unsolvable, but it might require patience, I'd say. 11th of April, the Sun will conjunct Jupiter in your 7th house of relationships. I like this because it feels like a relationship is growing and expanding, and it also feels like you're probably quite optimistic about where a partnership is headed, about its future. You might be making plans for the future together with a partner. This could also be a time, especially if you're single, it could be a great time to go out, to connect with friends, and they could introduce you to someone. Or the other possibility is that you might explore the option to go into a relationship with a friend, I'd say. Opportunities from others coming into your life, opportunities that are aligned with your plans for the future, may very well feature on this day, Libra. Venus, which is your chart ruler, goes into your 9th house until the 7th of May from the 11th of April. This is a time to enjoy travels. It's a time to enjoy your studies. It's a time to enjoy cultural events and activities, classes. Generally, it's a time to enjoy energies that broaden your horizons and stimulate your mind. Certainly, if you are planning any trips throughout this period, they might be quite successful, I want to say. Even if they are trips to places that you have been to in the past and you're like, oh, how can this ever surprise me? I've been here, done that, nothing new under the sun. And actually, there could be something new under the sun. If you need to launch any sort of like marketing campaigns, I would take advantage of this period, but I would maybe launch something before Mercury goes retrograde, which is going to happen on the 21st of April. Unless you want to relaunch an old marketing campaign and say, hey, I've got an offer for those of you who purchased this service of mine in the past. Now I've got an offer and here I am resurfacing this old thing, and you could be pleasantly surprised to see that it gets picked up by others. I like the 11th of April also because you could have a little bit of an aha moment as to how something was blocking your path in terms of your romantic life being transformed in the direction that you would like it to be transformed, Libras. 14th of April, it does feel like work reigns a little bit on your parade, especially if you wanted to travel on this day, or if you had plans to go out, to go to a concert or to the museum. It may feel like work kind of like stops you in your tracks, or you have to stay and work overtime and you might not catch the entire, I don't know, like show or something like that. Mercury is going to be retrograde. Mercury for you, my dear Libras, is, let's see, the ruler of your 9th house and of your 12th house. So it's going to be retrograde in the 8th house of shared assets and shared resources. There could be delays and miscommunications and misunderstandings about loans from the 21st of April until the middle of May. So misunderstandings about loans, about mortgages, interest rates. There could be some old expenses that you need to take care of that are coming back to your attention. You might need to chase someone and say, listen, pay me back my money. And I realize I'm being super blunt, and that is not the Libra style at all. But you may feel like enough is enough. I need to sort this thing out. You could also have old conversations about money with your partner that you had in the past, and there could be old kind of like negative patterns coming back to the surface once again. Negative patterns in what sense? In the sense that they may be kind of like damage the connection between the two of you, maybe because there are things that are left unsaid or unspoken. Listen, Libras, I know that you like to keep the peace, but sometimes what you don't say for the sake of not ruffling the other person's feathers might be exactly what leads to conflict further down the line. So sometimes it might be worth being a little bit blunter so that you don't end up in a state of conflict further down the line. Last but not least, I like the 29th of April because it does feel like some sort of an unexpected solution comes to your attention in terms of how to move forward with an issue that's been on your mind career-wise. This could also be a time when you get good news from work connected with a bonus or an investment or stocks and shares, and I don't think you necessarily expected this. You could also have some sort of an innovative idea and solution as to how you can move forward with a partnership at work. You seem to really deserve a big pat on the back because this is super original and it seems to work. So I'm liking it. Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. What does April have in store for you? Well, it's got some work for you. It's got some, energy that you need to deal with in the area of relationships, some stuff to sort out, to clean out, to shake off the dust when it comes to some matters connected with your relationship sector. But I dare say you've got some wins on the horizon, on the work front, and maybe also on the front of investments if you do have investments in any shape or form. So let me not get ahead of myself. I'm going to start with the very beginning. 3rd of April, Mercury squares Pluto in your 4th house of home. You could have a very intense disagreement, a clash with your partner, especially if you are in a relationship, when it comes to a very important transformative matter connected with the home and family life. There could also be some distressing news that come your way connected with a parent, your parent, or a partner's parent. Initially, this could feel like a very difficult thing to solve. The thing is, you might not see the solution straight away in terms of how to deal with this piece of news, but it might come to you a little bit later as Mercury is going to go retrograde, as you are maybe going to sit down again with your partner and talk about some matters that you felt like you were not exactly on the same page at all in the past. So don't despair on this day. There could also be some sort of like secret coming up to the surface, I want to say, about your partner's past, Scorpios. Now, if you're not in a partnership, you could be in a business partnership, or you could be collaborating with someone, and you could read something or learn something about, I don't know, your business partner, and it could really take you aback. You could be like, had I known this about you, I don't know if I would have worked with you. So that's 3rd of April, maybe also the day before and the day after. 6th of April, full moon, activating your axis of service. It's a great time to rest, my dear Scorpios. This is a great time to say, okay, I've worked enough and I do deserve to take some time off. You don't want to be knocked off your feet so that you take some time off. You could also breathe very easily around this time, because maybe something that has caused distress at work is now coming to a close, is now coming to an end. If you were having conflicts with someone at work, or if you were no longer enjoying the work that you were doing in a specific team, it could feel like that is now coming to an end, and you're like, fabulous, fabulous. I can sleep better, I can chill, I can rest. It is a good time to take some time off around the 6th of April. I'm going to be very honest. You could also have a little bit of an epiphany as to how you had been in the past sabotaging yourself, how you have up until this point been your own worst enemy on a matter connected with work, and especially on a matter connected with interacting with others, so relationships at work. This could also be a time when your partner ends a work-related project, and maybe something that has been stressing them out, and it feels like you can finally enjoy your relationship again. You could breathe easily because you seem to be getting over also a health-related issue around this time, my lovely Scorpios, even though it might take you a little bit longer to fully recover. So you might still need some rest. 11th of April, some good news connected with work, maybe new opportunities and a new path of growth for you. That's kind of like what I'm seeing around this time. You may also start working with a new team of people. There could be a new addition to the team. There could also be some new duties and responsibilities that are added to your to-do list, but it really seems to be something that helps you grow long-term, Scorpios, professionally. If you're thinking, I don't know how to do this because I've never done it before, see this as your opportunity to grow, because in order to grow, you gotta do things that you haven't done before. I think that is one of the definitions of growth, unless I'm making stuff up. But I would see it as a positive thing, even if you feel like you're being thrown off the deep end and you're like, I don't know how to use this whole like program or software or something like that. 11th of April until the 7th of May, Venus transits your 8th house. This is what I like, because it feels like your investments are growing. They're picking up, especially if you do have investments. Good news connected with investments and passive income around this time. And also you can expect gifts from your partner and from other people, but especially from your partner. There could also be some good news coming up connected with the partner's finances throughout this period that benefit both of you. If you need to take a loan throughout this period or attract investments and investors, I'd say that you're very persuasive with Venus on your side in the 8th house. On the 11th of April, in particular, I would also recommend, if you can, maybe having a heart-to-heart with your partner about a home and family related matter, because it does feel like you're finding a solution that suits both of you. So remember, beginning of the month, when you were not exactly on the same page, around the 11th of April, you seem to be reaching some sort of consensus. Yeah, I think that's the word, consensus. I'm trying to be super sophisticated and use all of these sophisticated words, but alas, I don't know them that well. So please don't get upset if I am making words up. This word definitely exists in Romanian. Let's see what else is going on in April. New beginning, solar eclipse. I dare say a big milestone moment, a big chapter kicking off 20th of April, week before, week after, in your work sector. So you could be starting a new job, an exciting new job. You could be starting work in a different way. You could be offering a new type of service to others. You could be making yourself of service in a different way. It does feel like this is something that requires a lot of courage on your end, and maybe also you could be starting a job or work on a project that requires traveling. And maybe right now it doesn't feel that big, but it could turn into something very big over the next 2 years. So 2023, 2024, until the beginning of 2025. Mercury is going to be retrograde 21st of April until the 15th of May in your house of relationships. So you could be having some old conversations with a partner. Once again, it may feel like you had reached an agreement, but now the partner is like, I want to talk about it. I don't know. I'm not that sure. I'm having doubts. And especially about some of the plans for the future that you had made together with a partner. Professional partner, business partner, or life partner, so romantic partner. It could also feel like you need to clarify some things with the partner. Maybe they haven't understood things correctly. So miscommunication can be a thing in relationship with others. I would be careful for misunderstandings also with friends throughout this period. So I would really kind of like clear the air if you feel like there is some sort of tension, my dear Scorpios, throughout this period. And if you need to sign any sort of like contract collaboration wise, whilst Mercury is retrograde, I would really carefully read the fine print, because there could be clauses, there could be stuff that needs to be revised, there could be clauses that contain mistakes and you don't want to sign up for that. So I would kind of like go with a fine-tooth comb over any contract that you are signing. 29th of April, some good news coming your way, maybe in some shape or form connected with legal matters that impact your work. Also, there could be news of you having to travel for work, and maybe to kind of like to secure a business partnership. An unexpected surprise, maybe from your partner, connected with a trip. So maybe they surprise you and say, oh, I've booked us tickets for, I don't know, like a weekend away or something like that. If you are traveling together with a partner, it may feel very exciting and exhilarating around the 29th of April. It might feel like a really nice adventure, I want to say. So enjoy it, Scorpios. My dear Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings, what does April have in store for you? Well, I think you are going to like both the full moon coming up on the 6th of April and the new moon solar eclipse coming up on the 20th of April. Why is that? Because the full moon and the new moon, they're happening in signs that sextile Sagittarius. So they work very well with your Sagittarian energy. It may feel like they're the energy of these two important events of the month. They're collaborating with what you're looking to achieve somehow. So let's talk a little bit about the full moon first and foremost. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after. There's a full moon activating your 11th house. It feels like you are completing something together with a group of people. You're proud of it. You're excited about it. It does feel like you're completing a work project together with a community or with a group of people. Or it could be something that involved you presenting something to a group of people. So it could be that you're stepping into the spotlight. You are center stage at work and you are kind of like sharing your wisdom to a group of people. A very successful culminating moment for you and your community. You're very actively involved with your friends and your community, or kind of like either of these two at the time of the full moon. It could also be a very enjoyable time in general from a social perspective. So if you're going out, if you're spending time with friends, Sagittarius, it's probably going to feel really good and also in a way productive maybe. So I do see the connection with work somehow, because Venus at the time is going to be in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So maybe you're getting together with friends, but you're also working with these people, or there's opportunities coming your way from these people for your work. I'm liking the mix, the energy of the full moon. If I were to say something, it would be get out of the house, go out into the world. Connect with your peers at this time, Sagittarius. Now, the new moon solar eclipse on the 20th of April, also pay attention to the week before and the week after, brings in a new chapter, an important new chapter, a fated chapter, let's call it, connected with your children, your romantic life, or your creative endeavors. So some of you may meet someone that sweeps them off their feet romantically, very, very possible. Some of you at the same time may experience some sort of a new beginning connected with children. There could be news of pregnancy for some. There could also be a little bit of an aha moment, an epiphany as to how you can bring more joy and more excitement in your life, Sagittarius. So you may start a creative project. You may jump in very characteristic fashion, Sagittarian fashion. You may jump headfirst into a new hobby, a new passion. It feels like fun and enjoyment and entertainment are in the spotlight for you at the time of this solar eclipse. Explore what sort of like ideas come your way in terms of how you can bring more joy and more excitement in your life around this time. Now, this eclipse is also in a tense aspect to Pluto in your 3rd house. It might feel like you need to admit some very kind of like uncomfortable truths to yourself. Why uncomfortable? Maybe because they have an element of the forbidden or of the restrictive or of the kind of like taboo aspect of life around this time, Sagittarius. You may need to admit these truths to yourself in order to bring more joy into your life. Now, for some Sagittarians, especially those who have kids, this could be a new beginning for one of their kids when it comes to their educational life, I would say. Now, I'm going to go back in time in very unconventional Aquarius fashion, because, hey, I'm an Aquarius sun. Not that you asked, Sagittarius, but I thought you should know. So, on the 3rd of April... Mercury will square Pluto in your 3rd house. Mercury is going to be in your 6th house of day-to-day work. There could be some intense conversations that don't actually seem to be going anywhere with a work colleague, some misunderstandings with a work colleague, maybe some stuff that was buried that's coming to the surface connected with work, hidden information. And I dare say that this piece of information is, I think you call it like a hot potato. So kind of like handle it with care, because you don't know, I don't know if it's wise to just like share it straight away or say it, even if you do feel like this is very important. I would handle it and manage it very, very carefully, because you don't want it to backfire, Sagittarius. There could also be some disruptions around the 3rd of April, maybe also the day before, the day after, in terms of you getting in time to work. Maybe there's a strike. I mean, there have been so many strikes, and there's going to be so many strikes, folks, with Pluto in Aquarius for the next 2 decades. It's not necessarily huge news at this moment in time, but it might interfere with the normal kind of like functioning of your day-to-day schedule around the 3rd of April. 11th of April, I do see a sense of joy and excitement around romance, around love, around creativity, around children. You could feel inspired to maybe explore and learn and study something about your passions and hobbies. You could feel like developing yourself in the direction of one of your passions and hobbies in a new way. If you're traveling around this time, you seem to feel very loved and very appreciated and very much in the spotlight. And it feels like the spotlight is on what makes you special on this day. 11th of April until the 7th of May, Venus transits your 7th house of relationships. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time romantically. even though Mercury is going to be retrograde for some of this period from the 21st of April until the 15th of May. So there could be some misunderstandings with your partner, or maybe romantically you might need to like go back a little bit in time and rediscuss about some of the topics that you have discussed with your partner in the past. But overall, it's an enjoyable time romantically, both for people that are single and for people who are in a relationship. Those who are in a relationship might enjoy the company of their partner a lot more. You could feel inclined to do more romantic stuff and to put an effort into making your partner feel loved, and the other way around. And those of you who are single, I mean, with Venus transiting your 7th house, it's a great time if you are open to a relationship. It's a great time to go to put yourselves out there and to date, of course. And it may feel like you're also likely to meet someone organically through work throughout this period, especially Sagittarius risings. I like the 11th of April in particular as one of like a day of intense kind of like romance, powerful romance, but that is underpinned by very kind of like exciting conversations, and it feels like someone really stimulates your mind, Sagittarius, and you're kind of like falling head over heels for them. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it may feel like it's very intense because of the involvement of Pluto. You're really like, wow, that hit right. I like your mind. 14th of April, it might feel like some sort of like duty and responsibility connected with your home and family life is kind of like getting in the way of your romantic life and is not maybe letting you enjoy romance as much as you would like to, but it's only a temporary thing. And as I said, Mercury is going to be retrograde 21st of April until the middle of May, until the 15th of May, in your house of day-to-day work. So careful what you say and how you say it at work. There could be delays and frustrations and miscommunications and misunderstandings at work, such as emails getting stuck in your inbox. Nothing tragic, nothing like too dramatic, nothing that is unsolvable, but just stuff that might irritate you a little bit. It might feel like people are slow to respond. It might feel like they're saying stuff that doesn't make sense, so you might just need to clarify. I would also say that you may go back to old projects and rework them or re-edit them, kind of like work through them in one way or another once again with Mercury retrograde in the 6th house of day-to-day work. A great way to make use of this energy is to get back in touch with old clients and say, okay, how are you? What's up? Let's work together again. You may also feel like you have to kind of like revisit some stuff that was on your mind from a health-related perspective, my dear Sagittarius. Maybe something that you needed to take care of a while back and now it's coming back to your attention. So let's say you postponed your visit to the dentist and now you're like, I gotta go to the dentist. And I like the 29th of April because it feels like you're overcoming very unexpectedly maybe some sort of crisis or a fear connected with your health. You could also be overcoming with a lot of courage, coming from like deep inside of you. So from the depths of your emotional like core, you may overcome with a lot of courage something that disrupted your day-to-day work life and caused crisis, but you somehow found it in you to say, I'm going to power through. You might also come with an original solution on this day to solve an emergency at work, and you could be applauded for it. It's a very kind of like creative and unconventional solution that I see around this time, Sagittarius. I like it. I like this day. Now, if you're a Capricorn sun or a Capricorn rising, my dear Capricorns, what does April have in store for you? A lot. So let me just dive right in. I'm going to start off with two of the most important events of the month. The full moon in Libra on the 6th of April and the eclipse, the solar eclipse on the 20th of April in Aries. So the full moon on the 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, is activating your house of career. I want to say you are experiencing some sort of career success, Capricorns. You're either maybe getting a promotion or receiving a round of applause or receiving acknowledgement, and the outside world is saying, wow, look at them, they've worked so hard and they've accomplished this thing. You could be receiving a new opportunity to climb up the ladder professionally. Some sort of like opportunity could be materializing professionally. You could also be completing a very high exposure project, I dare say very successfully, Capricorns. A project professionally that you might have also been focused on around the 25th of September. Last year, of course, when you were experiencing a new moon in your house of career. I like the fact that Venus is going to be in domicile and it's going to harmoniously aspect from Taurus, Neptune in your third house. It feels like you have good news connected with your career. You want to share them with others. You feel appreciated for your creativity and for your uniqueness from a professional perspective. You might also have some sort of announcement to make around this time to the outside world, connected with your children or your romantic life. And again, it's something that seems to be very pleasant. So you're like, yeah, I want to share with the world who I'm in love with. It could very well be this. It feels like you're feeling the love at the time of this full moon. That's how I would put it, from everyone in your life. And not just from your romantic partner, but also from kind of like the outside world in general. Now, the solar eclipse on the 20th of April, and it's active also the week before, the week after, is happening in your house of home. So new beginning, home-wise, family-wise. Maybe the family is growing, it's expanding. I wouldn't be surprised with Jupiter there until the middle of May. You could feel excited to step into a new chapter home-wise, maybe because you're moving or you're looking to buy a home or you found the home of your dreams. It does feel like there's an important kind of like focus on new home chapter together with a partner, because Mars is going to be in your 7th house of relationships this month, Capricorns. It could also feel like a partner is very eager to start a new chapter of living together, of maybe buying a home together, of starting a family together with you. I want to say that you could really feel like the partner is super impatient this month because Mars is in your 7th house of relationships. So they could be like, go, 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 go. Let's get it done. Now, on the other hand, instinctively and intuitively, even though the partner does seem to be quite impatient and they might be moving faster than you're comfortable, in a way, you kind of like realize that this is the course of action that you would also want to take in the relationship. So it kind of like makes sense, even though it's not happening very slow. It seems to make sense to jump in, and you seem to be jumping into a new exciting chapter, home-wise, living situation-wise, family-wise, with a partner at this point in time. The eclipse is, however, squaring Pluto in your 2nd house of income, so it feels like this new chapter, home and living situation-wise, is gonna cost you. And I mean it. I mean, it's probably going to cost a lot. And it's probably going to ask you to revisit and restructure and transform your budget and the way that you approach money in general. So just putting that out there, Capricorns. Now, what else is very significant this month? Mercury retrograde, of course. Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 21st of April until the middle of May. In your 5th house of enjoyment, of love, of romance, of creativity, of children. And Mercury rules your 6th house and your 9th house. So what does that tell us? It tells us that you might revisit creative projects that you were working on in your professional space. You might need to re-edit old creative projects. You might want to also go back to pick up where you left off some creative projects at work and maybe you didn't have time to finish them. It could also feel like maybe communication with children, if you do have kids, is not necessarily as straightforward as it normally would be. I would take the time to clarify and to explain myself a little bit better. Just putting that out there, Capricorns. There is a chance that you could be thinking and maybe also reaching out to romantic partners that you were involved with in the past whilst Mercury is retrograde. maybe you need closure. Maybe you need to have that important conversation. Maybe they reach out and you're getting some sort of closure. But I would be quite wary of maybe starting off a new romantic thing with Mercury retrograde in your 5th house of love. If you do start off a new thing, I mean, free will, you can do whatever you please. I would maybe not necessarily take at face value everything that the other person is saying, or I would maybe keep in mind that there could be certain aspects and elements of their life that are now hidden and that are probably going to come to the surface, or you're going to hear of them after the retrograde is over, Capricorns. You could also be having doubts and second guessing yourselves romantically whilst Mercury is retrograde in the 5th house of romantic love. You could be asking yourself, is this really what I want? Is this really how my romantic life is going to be from now on? And there's nothing wrong in asking yourselves those questions, but also remember that sometimes Mercury retrograde can embody the archetype of the trickster. So your brain might not necessarily be your best friend throughout this period. So I don't know if it's wise to believe every scenario that pops up in your head throughout this period. Maybe, maybe not. Up to you, Capricorns. Now I'm gonna go back in time a little bit and flag a few additional important dates in April. So 3rd of April, day before, day after, Mercury will square Pluto in your 2nd house of income. It feels like there are some maybe hidden or buried expenses coming up to the surface connected with kids or connected with fun and enjoyment and play. I would be careful not to spend too much on either of these around this time. And I would kind of like keep an eye on the bill if you go out, keep an eye on the tab if you go out, if you go to a party, because you could be charged incorrectly, I'd say. There could also be, for those of you who have kids, maybe some sort of like, let's call it secret that comes to the surface about one of your kids, and you're like, why did no one tell me? And what do I need to do about this? You're probably going to have to pay some money to solve the problem. That's to be cynical and realistic at the same time. And I know you Capricorn folks out there get me. I've got a Capricorn moon, so I'm on your side. But yeah, money might solve the problem. Let's put it this way. Even though you didn't see this expense coming, very possibly. 11th of April, Venus until the 7th of May transits your 6th house of work. So you may really enjoy working with others, communicating with people at work. You might enjoy the projects, the creative projects that you're involved in at work. You might also really enjoy working on your health and kind of like doing this together with other people, or being in a social environment where everyone's got kind of like similar goals in terms of health. So it's a great time to join, I don't know, like a group, kind of like, what's it called? Like a spinning class, or something of this type. It may feel kind of like easier to hit your targets health-wise if you do it together with others. I also like the 11th of April because there seem to be some positive news coming up connected with money and payment from work. So maybe you are receiving a payment, or maybe you score a very kind of like high paying client, someone who's willing to pay a lot for your talents. 11th of April is also important because the Sun conjuncts Jupiter in your 4th house of home and family. So it seems to put the spotlight on how your home and family life is growing and expanding, and how you're kind of like exploring new horizons in this direction. There could also be news coming from a family member that lives abroad around this time, or you could be thinking of visiting them around this time. 14th of April, a little bit of a misunderstanding at work, maybe with a colleague or a collaborator, just because maybe they're being a bit more cautious than you would normally be. I don't know if they're going to be willing to budge on the matter that you're disagreeing on, but it could be worth anyway, just kind of like remembering that people sometimes speak from experience. Even though you're coming with creative solutions, they're like, nope, it's always worked like this, and we're not going to do it any other way because this is our experience. And I don't know if it's going to be worth pushing it. You might need to make a judgment call on this day. 24th of April, the Sun will conjunct the North Node in your 5th house. It feels like you are you're looking from a new perspective, from a different perspective at what brings you joy and what makes you feel happy and fulfilled. And you could be having an aha moment around, this might sound very philosophic and cheesy, around what the meaning of life is. Also a day of love and to enjoy love, my dear Capricorns. Even though love involves vulnerability and sharing and opening up and maybe stepping in this more kind of like unknown territory, Capricorns. Last but not least, I like the 29th of April because it feels like the partner has a surprise for you. It could be a romantic partner, but it could also be a business partner that has a surprise for you. You could be scoring an important kind of like deal and partnership around this time. And it could also feel like there's a sense of excitement of moving forward together with a partner in a direction that you're both very happy about. Some positive news, especially for those of you who have kids, coming up in connection with children as well. And again, it's like you didn't see this coming, but it's kind of like very exciting and energizing. It's also a very good day to go out with your romantic partner and maybe do something fun together that also has like a physical element to it. So yeah, maybe just kind of like go for a hike or go for a run together or go and like play tennis or go for a swim together. And it could just feel like it's empowering and exciting, and it also brings the two of you closer together, Capricorns. And that is April for you. My dear Aquarius, Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. What does April have in store for you? Well, I think you folks, out of all signs, are actually going to like both the full moon in Libra and the eclipse happening on the 20th of April in Aries. Why? Because these two signs are generally in a harmonious aspect, and I say generally because I'm not taking degrees into account, but if we look at whole sign aspects, they are in a harmonious aspect, both Libra and Aries, with the Aquarian energy. Libra is obviously an air sign, so it's going to trine Aquarius, and Aries is going to sextile Aquarius. So I do believe that you will probably enjoy both lunations this month, Aquarians. Mercury is going to be retrograde, so that is definitely also significant, but let me not get ahead of myself. So let's start off with the full moon happening in Libra on the 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after it's active. It is activating your axis of traveling and learning. So you could be traveling or planning a trip around this time. You could be paying for a trip around this time. You could also be hearing news from abroad around the 6th of April, or news connected with your studies and with your academic endeavor. You could also be hearing positive news connected with visas, connected with your passport, connected with your residency, so to speak. I like the fact that the ruler of the full moon, Venus, is going to be in domicile in Taurus. So it's going to be very strong, and it's going to harmoniously aspect Neptune in your second house of values and income. You could be traveling to see family at this time, or family could be traveling to see you. You could also be hearing positive news connected with legal matters that impact your property, your home and living situation. I'm liking it. I'm liking the full moon overall. If you are waiting to hear news connected with your university studies, your academic studies, they will probably be news that you're excited about and that you're also looking to share with your family. I would also look back at what was going on around the 25th of September, give or take a few days before, a few days after last year, in regards to traveling and academia and legal matters, judicial matters, because this full moon could bring things to a close. It could bring things to a culminating point. I also like that at the time of the full moon, there is a harmonious aspect in the sky between Mars, Mercury, and Saturn. It feels like something that you've put a lot of effort into in terms of solving a situation, in terms of fixing maybe a problem, so to speak. you're finally finding a solution, and there's also help that you are receiving in order to solve this problem, possibly at work, I'd say, Aquarians. Now the eclipse, 20th of April, but it's also active in the week before and the week after. It is a solar eclipse happening in Aries in your third house. This could be the time, this could be a turning point when you start, or when you take a decision, if you don't start straight away, when you take a decision to start studying something, to start learning something, to take classes. You could be kicking off a new chapter of studies, maybe in terms of picking up a new language. Maybe you're gonna start taking classes in that direction. Some of you could start taking driving classes. Some of you could start kind of like checking the market out for maybe cars. You could be on the lookout for a car. For those of you who have siblings, I do believe that this new moon solar eclipse could also bring big news connected with the life of your siblings, or at least one of them. It's an exciting piece of news that could be making its way to you. You might be hearing more about this also in the second half of July, my dear Aquarians. The eclipse is in a tense aspect to Pluto, so I do feel like this could be a time when you are challenged to speak in a new way, to communicate in a different way, and maybe also to think about yourself and to speak about yourself, to communicate your thoughts and your opinions, and also to communicate about who you are as a person differently, my dear Aquarians. Mars, which is the dispositor of this eclipse, is forming a harmonious aspect to Mercury at the time. It does feel like you're ready to put in the effort that is necessary to accomplish the task ahead of you, the mental task ahead of you. It does feel like you have the grit and the stamina and the energy necessary in order to make things happen, in order to develop this new skill, I would say. You could also feel like you've got to start learning a learning chapter. My apologies, I've got something in my eye. I know, very non-glamorous, but hey, things do happen. You could also feel like this eclipse is telling you, listen, you need to start learning something new for your job, for your work, or you may need to start communicating in a different way for job-related purposes, Aquarius. Now, on the 21st of April until the middle of May, Mercury goes retrograde. Very important event of the month. Mercury for you Aquarians is the ruler of your 5th house and of your 8th house. And Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 4th house of home. So I feel like you may be having there's a chance that you might be having some misunderstanding, some miscommunication, or some old conversations that you need to have once again that are coming back to your conscious attention with parents or with family members. There could be old issues that you need to re-examine, you need to rediscuss. You may no longer be exactly on the same page with family members when it comes to these issues, especially issues that might have something to do with shared assets or shared resources, so maybe like a joint bank account, but also issues that might have something to do with children, especially if you do have children. If you don't have children, then that's okay. If you need to move forward with any sort of documents or paperwork, something that involves writing, speaking, communication, when it comes to a property-related matter, whilst Mercury is retrograde, things might not necessarily go as smoothly or as fluidly as you would expect them to. That doesn't mean that they won't eventually move forward, but you might need to send some papers again, or if you were waiting for some papers to come in the mail, then they could be delayed or they could be lost in the mail. So certainly delays because of issues connected with transportation are a hallmark of a Mercury retrograde period, my dear Aquarians. So this should not come as a surprise for you. Another very important, a very significant transit of April is Venus entering your fifth house of enjoyment from the 11th of April until the 7th of May. The fifth house is also the house of romantic love. My lovely Aquarians, you seem to be experiencing a beautiful, lovely, enjoyable time from the 11th of April until the 7th of May. A beautiful time together with romantic partners. Now, if you are single, then this is a fabulous time to potentially connect with someone, to meet someone, and especially to meet someone in a social setup. And maybe in a social setup, that is somehow linked with your past. So let's say you travel back home to see family and you go hang out at the, I don't know, like the bar or the pub that everyone used to hang out at, I don't know, in high school or something like that. And you could meet someone or you could reconnect with someone and sparks could fly, very, very possibly. It is an enjoyable time in general. Venus transiting the fifth house, when it comes to parties, when it comes to fun activities, but also you could be feeling very, very inspired from a creative perspective, and especially if you need to write something of a creative nature, or if you need to communicate creatively, this is a fabulous time to take advantage of, Aquarians. Now I'm going to go back a little bit in time to the beginning of the month because, hey, I did this in a non-chronological order this time, Aquarians. 3rd of April, there could be some misunderstandings or miscommunication, or maybe some stuff that comes to the surface, some information that comes to the surface that really riles you up, that you're not very happy about when it comes to home life, family life, or your living situation. Maybe you hear some sort of like piece of news connected with your home or your house, or maybe the landlord all of a sudden kind of like delivers a piece of news that you're not necessarily thrilled about. You could also hear that maybe a parent or a family member has been, I don't want to say hiding, but maybe they have been keeping some information from you, and you're like, okay, now that you've told me this, what does this mean? You could also reveal something that you've kept hidden about yourself to a parent or a family member, and I'll just put it out there. Initially, the response might not necessarily be exactly what you expected. It could actually take you by surprise, and it might take a little bit of time on the parent side to process whatever it is that you have revealed to them. So I would give them maybe a little bit of time, and I wouldn't take their responses very, very personally, Aquarians. I'm liking the 11th of April because the Sun will conjunct Jupiter and Venus will trine Pluto. What's going on here? So you seem to have a very clear idea as to how you want to grow and expand your knowledge and your wisdom, and how you want to maybe grow in terms of learning new skills, especially when it comes to how you can make more money. So this is a day when you could have an aha moment where you say, yeah, I need to learn how to use this tool because this is going to set me on the path of growth financially, I'd say. There could also be some really good news coming your way on this day, Aquarius, connected with money and finances in general. And I'm also liking the 11th of April because it's a very romantic day. I mean, you could feel very magnetic and attractive and very much in demand romantically. A great day to go out on a date. Also a great day for a creative brainstorm, I'd say. So you do seem to have some really creative ideas, like very powerful creative ideas that come to the surface. 14th of April, I want to say that you may feel like you can't necessarily have as much fun as you would like to because you need to focus on serious matters connected with your finances, or maybe you feel like, nah, I wish I could go to this event, but I gotta save money because I've got other goals. So you could feel a little bit restricted. I'm also going to put on your radar the 24th of April, which seems to be a significant day in terms of you realizing how your home life is going to change over time, and especially how your home life might change in May. Your home and living situation in your family life might change in May at the time of the eclipse. It's almost like you're getting a little bit of a taster on the 24th of April. And 29th of April, you seem to be coming up with a very, I'd say, innovative solution to an issue that you have been experiencing at home. You could also have a very kind of like exciting aha moment where you realize, this is where I'm going to live, or this is what I'm going to do at home, or this is how I'm going to improve my home and living situation. So I would be kind of like on the watch out for these innovative ideas on this day. And that is Aquarius. Now, if you are a Pisces sun or a Pisces rising, my lovely Pisces, what can you expect from April 2023? Well, it's an interesting month. It's an interesting month because eclipse season starts. Mercury goes retrograde. There's a lot going on in the sky, so I'm going to start breaking things one by one. On the 3rd of April, Mercury will square Pluto in your 12th house. You might discover something about a partner or a parent. Now, when I say a partner, it could be your business partner, or it could be a life partner, or it could be someone that you work with in general. You might discover something that you don't really know what to do with this piece of information about a partner or about a parent. I feel like you need to handle this information with care, and you might also want to be very careful how you reveal this information to someone else, because you don't want this to backfire, I dare say. You might also feel like this is a day when you have to keep some secrets to yourself, especially sensitive information that could cause more damage than good, especially when it comes to your interaction with a partner or with a parent, dear Pisces. 6th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, there is a full moon activating your financial axis, Pisces. You could be possibly paying off some debt around this time, or hearing, I dare say, positive news, auspicious news, news of growth, connected with investments, or connected with bonuses, commissions, stuff like that. You could be paid a commission around this time. If you are getting paid something, it does feel like you're first and foremost going to take care of some debt. But the good news is that you've got the money to take care of debt. And it does feel like you are, you're kind of like experiencing a sense of freedom as you're getting rid of some debt. You're kind of like taking I don't know, like a rock off your chest, or like a boulder off your shoulders. Did I just come up with a rhyme? I did. Pisces, you bring out the creativity in me. Anywho, I'm also going to put on your radar the following, Pisces. Look back at what was going on in the area of debt, taxes, investments around the 25th of September of 2022, because this full moon could be bringing things to a close or to a culminating point. I'm also liking the fact that there could be an opportunity around the time of the full moon. There could be an opportunity for you to capitalize on someone else's resources. So there could be an opportunity to invest or to cash in on an investment. But again, this is not financial advice, and you are completely responsible for how you use your money, Pisces. I also like that there's going to be a harmonious aspect in the sky at the time of the full moon between Mars, Mercury, and Saturn. I feel like you're celebrating the fact that you're getting rid of some financial burdens, or maybe a feeling of crisis financially. 11th of April, it does feel like you, so the Sun will conjunct Jupiter, it does feel like you have a very kind of like exciting idea as to how you can grow your finances moving forward. You could also hear news of a raise, or you could decide to put up your prices if you're working for yourself. There could also be an opportunity for you to increase your income coming your way around this time, my dear Pisces. I would pay a lot of attention to the 11th of April, and maybe also the day before and the day after. From the 11th of April until the 7th of May, Venus is going to transit your 4th house of home. I like this time because it feels like you are enjoying the company of family members. You also seem to be enjoying talking to family members, maybe hosting family at your own place, and generally welcoming people, I dare say, in your own home, my dear Pisces. So you seem to be enjoying the role of the host. The 11th of April is also a really nice day to enjoy some kind of like maybe romantically exciting time together with your partner in the privacy of your own home. You could also be receiving a gift around this time, or news of a financial nature that feels like a gift. So I like the 11th of April. On the 14th of April, it may feel like you can't really maybe experience as much fun and as much kind of like enjoyment of your time at home, because you've got some duties and responsibilities that you need to take care of, or just because you're not necessarily feeling 100% physically. Maybe you're tired and family members would love to hang out with you, but you're like, I'm sorry, but I really need to catch up on sleep. 20th of April, week before, week after, there's an eclipse happening in your 2nd house of income. Pisces, new source of income or new beginning financially. Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for opportunities. Be on the lookout for maybe you taking the initiative to start off a new project that is likely to pay off quite a bit financially. I would also flag around this time to you the following, Pisces. Have a think about how you can make more money out of a creative outlet or out of something that you enjoy doing, something that is your passion and hobby, I'd say. This could also be a time, especially if you have kids, when you start spending more money on your kids, but you do seem to do this with excitement and willingly. And you're like, yeah, I love that my kid wants to play basketball, so I am going to pay for their basketball lessons. On a more symbolic level, this eclipse also points towards the beginning of a 2-year-long chapter of transforming your values and your value system, and kind of like reconsidering what matters to you, what is valuable to you, and also reconsidering how you allocate, in alignment with your new values, how you allocate your resources, your time, your energy, and of course, your money, Pisces. The eclipse is in a tense aspect to Pluto. If you are starting to make money in a new way, I would be very, very, very careful at hidden clauses. And I would be very careful at matters that have something to do with the law, and at matters that have something to do with maybe those in power, and matters that have something to do with institutions, because there could be hidden clauses that you're not yet aware of, and you're very excited to get going, and you're feeling like your appetite for risk-taking is high, but I would slow a little bit down and do some digging into the institutional aspect of this new source of income. 21st of April until the middle of May, Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 3rd house. I mean, delays with transport. Your car might need to be fixed, very possibly. Deliveries might end up with your neighbors, or you might not find them. Things might get lost in translation. You might also experience delays with exams, and maybe also feel like it's not as easy to focus on learning processes in general, my dear Pisces. You could also experience some miscommunication with family members. Nothing tragic, nothing too dramatic, but you might just need to clarify things, I'd say. 29th of April, I like this because this feels like a day when you come up with some sort of like innovative idea of a creative nature. Also something that might help you financially somehow. You seem to come up with an original solution for a financial conundrum. And it's like it dawns on you, and it's very creative. It's very kind of like left field, south field, out of the box. But it might just work. It might just work. As crazy as it might sound on paper, it might just work. So I like this. I like this, Pisces. This is also a great time to, a great day to play sports, games, and to have fun, especially if you've got kids, to have fun with the kids doing something physically active. Also, if you are going out on a date around the 29th of April, maybe the day before and the day after, I would consider an active date. So maybe take her or take them dancing or something like that. And that is Pisces. Folks, thank you once again for tuning in. It has been a pleasure to do this horoscope for you. Remember that if you want to work with me, because I work with clients one-to-one, I do personal astrological consultations, natal chart interpretations, year-ahead forecast, compatibility, astrocartography. If you want to work with me, if you want to also on a more spiritual level, reconnect with your soul's intentions and reconnect with a sense of purpose, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. You can go straight to the services section. And don't forget, you can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is @RuxUnbelievable. Enjoy April. Thank you. Bye.